T-minus 4 minutes. T-minus 3 minutes. T-minus 2 minutes. T-minus 1 minute.
What'd she just say?
T-minus 50 seconds. T-minus 40 seconds. T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds.
I'm going to talk about this too.
10, 9, 8.
Hello, folks. This is Kenny with Just the Right Angle coming at you live with several different stories that affect you. Of course, you could follow me at Just the Right Angle on Rumble is the best way to look up what's going on. Subscribe is set up a Rumble account if you don't already have one. Also, a YouTube account, Keep Arkansas Legal. Well, folks, last week was the Republican Party of Arkansas State Convention. It was held in Little Rock at the Embassy Suites, which was the same place where 2 conventions ago, Pulaski County delegates were lied about and then blocked and then kicked out of the lobby by Little Rock police, who were illegally hired to do so by what I call the consultant class. I've named them before. Well, this last convention, several counties were actually blocked among them. And so this article by Conduit News mainly talks about this. It's called Recap of the 2026 RPA Convention. It was just put out a few minutes ago. It's about a 9-minute read, so I won't go through the whole thing. I will put the link in the chat. So folks, say hi in the chat and then copy that link so you can grab it and read it for yourself. I think Conduit allows for comments on their articles. But I'll go over some of the basics here. Just some of the stats here. 588 Republicans from only 53 of our 75 counties were seated and allowed to vote on the state's Republican business. There was only 20 minutes where actual business was done. The rest of the time was regarding credentialing and the process of setting up who would run the convention. So only 20 minutes where they passed one rule. And then everything else was messed up regarding credentials. There were approximately 1,000 Republicans elected as state convention delegates. So barely half were able to attend from those that are elected. And that means, as it shows here, 200 to 300 from 22 counties did not attend due to not properly directing them ahead of time as the correct procedure. By the way, the Republican Party of Arkansas has staff that are well paid that are supposed to help with this. Or when the RPA did advise them, told them they would not be seated. And then there were about 100 delegates present from halfway across the state who came there believing they would be allowed to plead their case, which they are allowed to do under Republican Party rules, but were not allowed to, with the exception of the 8 from Lawrence County. And of course, you can see here on my live stream where I talk about this issue, you can see the whole convention there. I also have highlights of what went on in different sections. And what this means is that the Republican Party of Arkansas has deliberately been set in turmoil by what I call the consulting class. And if you follow this channel, you know I've named them before. Chris Caldwell, Chase Duggar, a new guy who was actually there at the convention, Jordan Powell, Belinda Harris Ritter of the Rules Committee, Brian Lester of the Rules Committee, of course, our feckless chair, Joseph Wood, and of course, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and a lot of other folks who basically only want Christian conservative activists to show up, volunteer their time, volunteer their money, give up their vote, and then supposed to take whatever abuse is done to them in the name of unity. And that's kind of how a lot of cults act, how some people have posted that the RP has become a cult. You can kind of say cults are usually associated with religions, but it can be organizations as well. And then again, 53 out of 75 counties were denied seating from the state convention. And I am actually not sure within those 53 counties if there was any problems within that. This is kind of how the RPA strategy went through. First, of course, the Rules Committee has designated themselves power to decide what is and is not on the convention. They've never had that power. They just gave themselves that power. The standing rules contain a rigid agenda with no new business. So if you think of something that you care about, like supporting veterans, dealing with data centers, whatever it is, normally in a state convention of any organization, you have the power to put that before the floor, and the people there can debate for and against that. Well, the Republican Party of Arkansas has prevented that from happening in this convention, even though in the rules it states the convention is the final authority. And then when there was an effort to try to change those standing rules, there was a lot of confusion. Now, you can say that those that wanted to advocate for freedom may have been confused in themselves on how to change it. But irregardless, the main reason why the state convention for the Republican Party of Arkansas was an abysmal failure was because of the Republican Party of Arkansas staff and the consultants that they work for. And so the registration started around 8. The convention itself was supposed to start around 10. It ended up being 30 minutes late, and then it adjourned, according to this article, by 2:20. And so you can go through all the various aspects here in the article of what happened at that convention. You can also, of course, see the live stream that I did. I was, as far as I know, I was the only one who did do a live stream of that event. Again, this is the party that runs the state. And as far as I know, I'm the only one who actually live streamed and filmed it. So I'll post a link to that so you can see that event. And while I was researching this, there was actually another event that happened in one of the Republican Party counties, Randolph County. And there is apparently a 40-minute or so video of drama that occurred there. Now, this was posted by Jerry Dawn Haynes Moore, who was apparently a member of this committee. And I'm posting the link to my live stream on there. And I honestly do not know every detail of this because I just saw this. This was posted, looks like about 11 hours ago. And he's got a long post about something. I'll read part of it. He paid $50 to become a member of the Republican Party in November of 2025, attended every meeting, officially became a member in April 2026. 3 weeks and 4 days later, he received a letter stating they had removed him from the party due to false allegations. And well, he says that in his opinion. And then he says to start about 1910 in the video that he has below regarding some of the claims that they did. So I'm going to play a little bit of this video, or at least try to, and see what has been described here. I haven't watched this video. Let's go to 19.
Asked to participate in committee events, you have declined to participate.
My mother was in the hospital.
You have declined.
That's right. My mother was in the hospital. Oh, that's okay. Discrimination can belong here, huh?
Yeah.
I still got lawsuit.
Your behavior, I find the committee and the executive committee and myself on the investigating committee found your behavior not in cooperation, not trying to support or promote the Republican committee of Randolph County in any way. I am not seeing anything. I was personally very disturbed when you posted a video showing Mrs. Blevins and Mrs. Bryant.
Let's see that video.
Working at the church for a political event and saying that they were using state county money, and they were not, and they were absconding with that, and they were being terrible people, and none of that was true. They had vacation time for which you did not investigate. You only charge people with doing bad things. You publicly have worked very hard to undermine the county clerk and the election commissioner. And the election commissioner is a representative of this body. She is the election commissioners, both of them are elected by this body. They represent us, and to defame them in any way is just, I consider, especially willful and deplorable. I saw many, many pictures of Mrs. Blevins' vehicle parked around at different locations, and you saying where she was and what she was doing. That, sir, is stalking. And that is also, I can find, deplorable. That is not just simply traveling around. I have heard the word free speech free speech is only applies to state and U.S. Constitution. It does not apply in these circumstances. It does not apply in a private, this is a private committee. This is not out in the public. If you were working for an employer and did the type of things you have done to this committee, you would be fired.
Okay, folks, so that's kind of the gist of what happened here. I'm going to go ahead and put this video, a link to this video. Again, it's 40 minutes long, so I'm not going to play the whole thing. But you can listen to this. I'll put it both in the comments section and in the chat. Honestly, have no idea what all is going on here. You can see some of the story and decide for yourself what exactly happened, who is in the right here. But it's yet another example of what is going on when regarding the consultant class and the ruining of the Republican Party of Arkansas. And it's sad because a lot of people, they want to get involved, to help, to fight against things like socialism, obscene stuff in libraries. They want, lower taxes. They want to protect their gun rights. And they run into this type of stuff. And oftentimes many people as happened as many people just burned out. They don't want to get involved anymore. And I often get texts from the Republican Party. It turns out Lawrence County had actually sent their information regarding the rules beforehand. So they had already said, look, they did everything they were supposed to do correctly. And still they were blocked and had to plead their case, had to have an election just to be allowed to plead their case, and then finally were seated. And other counties were cheated and were told, you're not going to be here, so don't even bother. So that's the kind of situation we're in. And because of that, we're having to deal with lots of other factors, like, for instance, data centers. These are these big multi-gazillion-dollar scam projects that are being done, two of which are being done in Pulaski County. Google decided to do a few, you could call them secret meetings, where they invited a select few and were supposedly allowed to hear questions and comments and have the panel discussions. Of course, this is within the context of them already passing laws that require city and county governments to accept their plans, and lots of other things were already put in place before anybody even knew there was a data center to happen. This is a little bit of a post from Katie Rhodes, who is a Democrat. This is from the Arkansas Times, which is usually a leftist rag, but they do occasionally get some things right. They held their first meeting at First United Methodist Church at 2, and then yesterday they had another meeting at 10 a.m. Now, I was actually able to go to the one at 10 a.m., and I asked several questions regarding these data centers. One, why are they putting them in communities where cooling is a factor and they have to deal with triple-digit temperatures and have to most likely use water in order to and generate a lot of noise, in addition to needing energy? Why not build them in Alaska next to an oil derrick where all those things are mitigated? You could then take your workers up there. By the way, Google's a multi-billion-dollar company, so building this would be no problem to them. And I never could get a real answer. Nobody really got clear answers on anything. They're supposedly supposed to pay for their energy costs, and they have things in their contracts that say that they will pay their own way regarding the water infrastructure. But then again, we've seen stories like what happened at Lake Tahoe, where the people lost their power. We've also seen other stories where these data centers would literally steal millions of gallons of water. According to the guy that spoke at this exclusive meeting, they're only supposed to be using sewage water and then send it back to the water treatment center. Now, if the water treatment center isn't able to process the water from the data center, what's the plan for that? We don't know. And so I'm not sure when the next panel discussion is going to be or the next public discussion is going to be. City of Little Rock and Pulaski County had meetings earlier. If you go to Katie Rhodes, she often goes to the Pulaski County meeting. They had the quorum court, I think it was yesterday, it was June 8th, sorry. And they did the same thing as before. They allowed the pro data center powers that be to do about a 2-hour presentation. Then they did the vote. Then they allowed public comment. And so they've delayed this moratorium, which wouldn't even apply so far to the 2 current data centers being planned, the one for Avio in Wrightsville and the one for Little Rock. I did find out that the power source for the data center in Wrightsville is actually from the solar panel farm that's in Grant County. And I briefly talked about months ago, I believe it was South Arkansas Reckoning did a story on how the people there have been fighting against that solar panel farm because these solar panel farms oftentimes are a scam in and of themselves. Not just in terms of the supposed energy savings that people are supposed to get, which oftentimes turns out not to be the case. But also, it turns out oftentimes they have all kinds of other problems. They're often a financial drain. And now we find out again that the whole purpose of that solar panel farm down there is supposedly to power the data center, which means I don't know how they're somehow going to be able to pass savings on to you. But anyway, those are just some stories I wanted to cover. Of course, my Bible verse here is Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people will rejoice. But when the wicked ruleth, the people mourn. So follow me at Just the Right Angle on Rumble. Facebook, of course, you can find my page there. Keep AR Legal on X. If you like what you see, you'd like to send over some funds, in the description, there are some links to Cash App, PayPal, Fundly, and other ways you can fund this group. In the future, I'll try to do what's known as exclusive videos, and I'll do raids. That's something that Rumble wants to encourage people to do. If you haven't already, set up a Rumble account. That's a way you can support